Hey everybody, it is late at night and I am Norman. Tonight I want to review the Baltic Aquascaphe. So let us begin. Baltic is an extremely young company, founded in 2017 by Etienne Malik, and I apologize for what is certainly a botched pronunciation of the name. He was inspired by a watch collection he inherited from his father, who was a photographer and journaled his collection. This sparked a passion for watches, and he founded the company and called it Baltic as a tribute to his father's origins in northern Poland along the Baltic Sea. Baltic watches have a definite vintage inspiration to them. They are sub 40 millimeters and feature acrylic crystals. However, this particular watch actually has a sapphire crystal. So let's take a look at the Baltic Aquascaphe. Here is the Baltic Aquascaphe. And I purchased this watch as a potential replacement for my Christopher Ward C65 Trident. That watch is also a vintage style dive watch, and it has the amazing Christopher Ward case, so there's lots of really cool details happening on the side of the case, and the bezel angles down, making it look thinner than it actually is, and it has a truly boxed crystal on there. I'm not sure why I thought that this watch would be a C65 Trident. It isn't, clearly. And so any negativity that comes across as I review this watch is on me, not the watch itself. I had a certain expectation for this watch, and that was my own mistake. This is actually a really great watch, so I don't mean to be negative. As I go over some of these details, just bear that in mind. So let's begin looking at the watch band and moving up to the watch itself. This watch shipped on a great tropic strap. You can pay extra and have it shipped on a bracelet, but I chose this one. And I have to say that this is probably the best tropic strap I've seen in person. In the past, I purchased one and spent a decent amount of money on it, and the material that one was made of was just garbage. And I have pretty small wrists, but that one was so small, both the floating keepers would just pop off of what little overhang there was, and it would stick straight out. So I have gotten rid of that bracelet. But this one is great. The material is really nice. I love that crazy taper on these. Here's the buckle. It's signed. It's a nice buckle. It's not flat, it's round. A lot like my Buckle Guy buckles that I purchase. It has the typical pattern on the back with some Baltic branding on there. Yeah, this is a really nice strap. I really like it. So let's move on to the watch itself. The case is 100% brushed, which is perfect for a tool watch. It has drilled lugs and a screw-in crown. You see that is signed, and it almost sits upright when it's screwed in. Very close. The case itself is very cylindrical. You can see on its profile that it's like a cylinder with lugs coming off of it. The bezel is flat and sits really proudly. Huge contrast to my C65 Trident in that regard. And it was kind of a shock when I saw it because I'm used to that other watch. In fact, here is the C65 side by side, so you can see what I'm talking about. So when you look at the side, you can see how everything on the C65 kind of angles down, giving it a very thin appearance, whereas the Baltic is almost the opposite. It's very flat, very cylindrical. And that is why I was kind of in shock when I saw this. I somehow expected it to be more like this. But you can see the size difference there, which is why I bought the Baltic. I wanted a smaller variant of this without a date window. Let's look closer at this bezel. It has a sapphire insert, markers at 3, 6, and 9 with a triangle at the top there. Everything in that bezel is loomed. However, we will be talking about the loom in more detail later, because that is actually a problem. The action on the bezel is great. There's like no back play at all. It sounds really nice. The alignment is good. And it's really easy to turn this because of that overhang. It's pretty easy to get a grip on it. The edge looks great. I like how thin it is. I love thin bezels, they're really cool. As for the crown, it's unguarded, as you can see. Like I said, it's a screw down crown. The signage on it is nice. Let's unscrew this. It's kind of wiggly. I know that there are some watches that do that intentionally. I'm not sure if this is one of them, but you can see it kind of wiggling there. Definitely feel it. The action is nice and smooth, not super gritty. Nice, clean, definite click there. And this feels great. It easily catches the threads and screws in nicely. And like I said, nearly straight up and down. Each time it's a little bit different, a little bit off here this way or that way, but pretty close. So let's flip this around and look at the case back. We have a scuba diver there, screw in case back. It's very flat. As you can see there, the whole bottom is just totally flat there. The etching on there is pretty nice, very shallow. We have the usual information around there. And the dial. So you'll notice that this crystal isn't really a box crystal. It's almost half dome, half box. It has a very gradual angle there, and then it goes flat. And this makes it appear as though the dial itself is way deep inside there. Kind of like we're looking through a submarine portal, and deep inside there is the dial. We see that at the 3, 6, and 9, it's a sandwich dial. Everything else is painted on there. Now this loom is described as cream, and when you look at photographs of it, it looks like a cream color. And it probably comes off that way in this video as well. But in person, This is almost orange. It is extremely dark. And after having this for a week, I have only noticed this loom glowing once. And that was when I held it up to the window to get sunlight on it. This loom barely glows at all. Let me shine a flashlight on it and let you see what that looks like. Okay, the lights are out. Let me shine this flashlight on here. See if I can charge it up. Alright, so we've got something there on the hands. But you can barely see anything. It looks like it's been in total darkness for about 15 minutes or so, and I just charged it. Let's do a comparison. So here, I have the Baltic next to the Smiths. I just charged up both of these looms. And you can see how much brighter the Smiths is. Now, to be fair, the C65 actually doesn't perform very well either. And it may just be the patented loom that's the culprit. But I think that loom would kind of render this more of a dive style watch than an actual dive watch. You would never be able to see this loom, even fully charged, in dim situations underwater. As for the specifications on this watch, this is a 39mm case, 47mm lug to lug, 20mm lug width, 12mm thickness. It has a Miyota 9039 automatic movement in it. So you can feel it spinning, it's unidirectional. But on this watch it's pretty quiet. I haven't noticed any noises or anything. Sandwich dial on the triangles. This is a sapphire crystal on here. Screw down crown. And a water resistance of 200 meters. Here is the Baltic on my 7-inch wrist. I love that dial. It has a nice texture to it. It's not shiny, so there's no glare or anything. It's nice and basic. There's no date. Yes. It's not overly thick or anything. With that dark loom on there, it kind of reminds me of first generation U-pneumatic watches, where they were super minimal and had the plain bezel on them. I'm hoping the white loom will look not quite like that. I'm hoping that the markers on the bezel will be more visible and it'll kind of look more like a standard bezel than sort of a Movado of bezels, if that makes sense. So there you have it, the Baltic Aquascaphe. And again, my issues with this watch are primarily my own expectations for what it would be, not the watch itself. This is actually a really great watch, and I would recommend it to anyone looking for a vintage style dive watch. However, that lume is an issue, and I've submitted an exchange request for the white lume variant of this watch. And when that arrives, I will be doing an unboxing of it and a full review, and we'll see how that lume performs. Thanks for watching.